I'm Cindi McGee. Today in the Makin's Clay Design Studio, I'm showing you how to add acrylic paint and make a whole new shade of clay, and how to add a unique texture for a faux concrete effect. With Makin's Clay, you can achieve a lot of faux effects, like faux stone, or what we're doing today is a faux concrete. Let me show you how we do that. We're going to begin with a 120 gram package of white Makin's Clay. Now, Makin's Clay does come in a wide variety of different colors, and you can mix clay to change the color, but you can also add a touch of acrylic paint or an oil-based paint and make whole new shades. You would first remove the box and then remove the outer package. Now at this point, if we were only going to use a little bit of our clay, we could cut off what we were going to need and put the rest into a Ziploc bag with a damp paper towel or a moist towelette, and that will keep your clay fresh for use later. But for this project, we're actually going to use all of our white clay. So I'm now removing the inner packaging. It's soft and pliable right out of the package. It does not need to be conditioned before use. Any clay that may be stuck on your packaging, you could scrape off, or I find it's easier to take what I've already taken out and just pounce until I've removed any clay. So we're going to use all of this, so we don't need this baggie. But in order to mix our paint into our clay, I do find it easier to begin this process in a Ziploc baggie. I'm going to make a bit of a well in my clay, and then you can use any acrylic paint or oil-based paint. Today I'm using this chalk paint from DecoArt. I love the effect that this particular chalk paint gives when we're making a faux stone or faux concrete, because it's almost a softer effect. Now there is no exact amount. You can, depending on how much paint you add, is how opaque your finished clay will be. You can always add paint to make it a bit darker if you'd like. But once I have my paint in there, I'm going to put it in that Ziploc bag and seal it. Now normally you would wear gloves for this process too, unless you don't mind getting your fingers painty, like I don't mind. And get my air out. And then I'm just going to begin mixing the paint with the clay. Now you can continue this process in the bag until it's thoroughly mixed, but once I've started the process, I like to get into it, and it's going to get messy, but watch the magic as it gets incorporated into the clay. So I'm just going to begin to mix. You would continue to thoroughly mix until almost all the paint has lifted from your hands and it is fully incorporated into your Makin's Clay. Once that acrylic paint is in that clay, it is not going to come off. It's not going to come off on your hands. It's not going to come off on clothing. It is fully incorporated. To make this go from a stone gray to a concrete effect, we're first going to roll our clay. So I've rolled it to maybe 1/8 of an inch or a little bit more thickness with our clay roller. And then I'm using the second smallest cutter from the Makin's 4-piece square cutter set. This is one of the new large sets of 4 pieces. So that's going to be the size of our coaster. And I would re-roll this to make additional coasters. One of the other great ways you can add textures and images to Makin's Clay is with rubber stamps, and you can rubber stamp Makin's Clay when it is wet or when it is dry. For this project, I'm using this monogram stamp, and I'm actually impressing it into the fresh clay to give me my monogram and detail that. But what really takes this from a stone to a concrete is the addition of pepper. This is a technique I first learned from one of our design team members, Lisa Haney. She used it to make a necklace where she mixed the pepper into her clay. I'm using it more as a surface treatment. So you would sprinkle it on and then press it in to that clay while it is still fresh. And then you're going to just dust it away, and you can use a paintbrush if you'd like to get into those recessed areas to remove all your pepper. But when you're finished, I hope that shows, you have this great texture that on this gray mixed clay is very much like a concrete. Now to put this onto a coaster, I cut a piece of cork roll, the same size. I used my square cutter as my template to cut the cork. And then I used some beacon tacky glue to mount my square of clay to my square of cork. I made sure to get my glue all the way to the edges of my cork. And that will make sure that you have a good adhesion of the clay to the cork. And then I simply placed my clay. Now you can do this when the clay is still fresh or when it's dry. It takes 24 hours to be fully cured. But a tacky glue or a clear glue like Beacon's 527 is a great option. You would not want to use hot glue for this because it will not hold Makin's clay over time. Now, if it starts to curl a little bit while it's drying, you can, once it's started to dry a bit, you could put something like a book on top, and that will help it lay a little bit flatter. But while Makin's clay is water resistant, it is not completely resistant to water, so we're going to be using these as coasters. So after my coaster had dried, I went ahead and I did choose to coat it with a sealant. I used Americana's, DecoArt's Americana multi-purpose sealer, but you can use a spray sealant, whatever is easiest for you. But that will make my coaster to be waterproof and weatherproof, so it can actually be used for my beverages without damaging it. Tie together a set of these monogram coasters with a little bit of twine, and they would make a great hostess gift or even a little shower gift for a bride-to-be. And it is also a great technique for making faux planters. I hope you enjoyed learning how to use acrylic paint to make custom colored Makin's clay and to add unique texture to make our faux concrete coasters. Tune in next time to the Makin's Clay Studio for more creative projects.